Hey everyone, and welcome back. Imagine a royal feast where friendship turns to murder. 3 kings, 1 crown, and a betrayal so shocking it changed Denmark forever. But who among them truly deserved to rule? Was it the ruthless Sweyn, who struck first? The determined Canute, who fought for honor? Or the young Valdemar, who escaped death to reclaim justice with fire and steel? Stay with me, because today we're diving deep into how ambition, loyalty, and divine fate collided to decide the future of a kingdom at the cost of blood. Today we're exploring a truly wild and bloody chapter of Danish history, a time when the crown wasn't just inherited, but fought for with every ounce of cunning, strength, and treachery. Imagine a kingdom, beautiful but fractured, where 3 ambitious men, all linked by blood, believe they alone deserve to rule. This isn't some fictional drama. This is the true story of Denmark in the mid-12th century, a tale of civil war, betrayal, and the forging of a nation through fire. We're talking about a period where royal blood wasn't enough. You had to prove your worth on the battlefield, rally powerful noble families to your cause, and sometimes even turn a festive dinner into a bloodbath. At the heart of this storm were 3 descendants of the great King Sweyn II, Sweyn III, the ambitious and often ruthless, Canute V, determined and unyielding, and Valdemar the Great, young, sharp, and destined for greatness, but first he had to survive. Their deadly rivalry wasn't just some petty squabble. It kicked off in a truly brutal way with the murder of Valdemar's father, Canute V, way back in 1131. This single act plunged Denmark into decades of civil war, a brutal struggle that threatened to tear the kingdom apart before, against all odds, forging it anew. Their contest for the crown would escalate from the courts of foreign emperors to a treacherous feast, culminating in a final, decisive battle on a lonely heath. Get ready, because this is going to be an intense ride. As the years of fighting dragged on, the sheer exhaustion started to set in across the kingdom. Imagine the toll this constant warfare took on the people, the land, and the economy. Everyone was tired of it. Attempts were made, both by powerful outsiders and by Denmark's own leaders, to force a peace upon the 3 rivals. But these efforts were always so fragile, like building a house on quicksand. They would only momentarily pause the conflict, setting the stage for even bloodier betrayals down the line. Desperate for a lasting solution, the rivals even looked beyond Denmark's borders. In 1152, both Sweyn and Canute decided to travel south, seeking an audience with one of the most powerful men in Europe, the Holy Roman Emperor, Frederick Barbarossa. They literally asked him to play judge and decide who should be the one true king of Denmark. Now, Barbarossa, being the shrewd politician he was, saw this as a golden opportunity to extend his own influence. He declared Sweyn III the sole king of Denmark and forced Canute V to give up his claim. While this seemed like a major win for Sweyn, it didn't bring the lasting peace everyone hoped for. The rivalry was far from over. It had merely been put on hold, simmering just beneath the surface, waiting to boil over. Fast forward to 1157, and the great nobles of Denmark, the magnates, had reached their breaking point. They were absolutely fed up with the endless warfare. They practically dragged the 3 rivals to the negotiating table and forced them to accept a settlement. The idea was to divide the kingdom, finally ending the bloodshed and bringing some much-needed stability. So the kingdom was officially split into 3 parts. Sweyn III got Scania, which was his original power base where he'd first been hailed as king. Canute V received Zealand, home to Roskilde, a major royal and religious center, and Valdemar I was given Jutland, a region of deep personal importance to him and his family. With the kingdom divided, there was a glimmer of hope. It truly seemed like a new era of peace was finally about to begin. To mark this fresh start, a grand feast was planned in the city of Roskilde. Everyone was invited, and it was meant to be a celebration of unity and reconciliation. But little did they know, This celebration of peace would soon become one of the most infamous acts of treachery in all of Danish history. The great hall in Roskilde buzzed with the sounds of celebration. On that evening of August 9, 1157, goblets were raised high, and oaths of friendship were exchanged as the three kings toasted to what they hoped was a fragile new peace. For a brief, shining moment, it truly seemed like the long, brutal years of war were finally, definitively over. Laughter filled the hall, music played, and a sense of relief settled over everyone present. But Sweyn III had a different plan entirely. For him, this feast was not a celebration. It was a trap, meticulously set and waiting to spring. He had no intention of sharing power, not truly. As the festivities reached their peak, as everyone was at their most relaxed and unsuspecting, Sweyn's men suddenly drew their hidden weapons. In a shocking, pre-planned attack, they fell upon Canute V, murdering him right there in the middle of the crowded celebratory hall. Chaos erupted instantly. The festive atmosphere shattered into 1,000 pieces as the celebration turned into a slaughterhouse. People screamed, tables toppled, and blood stained the banquet hall. The young Valdemar was also a target, clearly marked for death. In the deafening confusion, he was gravely wounded. But Valdemar was no ordinary man. He fought with incredible ferocity, battling his way through the assassins, desperately trying to escape. In a stroke of quick thinking, he managed to topple a massive candlestick, plunging a significant portion of the hall into shadow. This momentary darkness was his chance. Bleeding and utterly alone, he managed to flee into the night, escaping with his life by the narrowest of margins. This horrific event, instantly dubbed the Bloodfeast of Roskilde, shattered any illusion of peace. With Canute dead, only two rivals remained, both forever changed by that night. The fate of Denmark now rested on a final, unavoidable confrontation between the vengeful Valdemar and the treacherous Sweyn. The next clash would decide everything. After his incredibly narrow escape from Roskilde, Valdemar knew he couldn't just sit idly by. He returned to his territory of Jutland, his mind burning with a thirst for justice and vengeance. There he began to rally his forces for one last, decisive fight. He called upon his most powerful and loyal allies, the Vede family, that influential noble kindred who had fostered him as a child after his father's murder. Their loyalty was unwavering, and with their backing, he prepared to march against Sweyn. On October 23, 1157, the two armies finally met at Grathe Heath. This wasn't just another battle for land or power. This was the final, ultimate judgment for the crown of Denmark. The fighting was incredibly fierce, a desperate struggle between two men and their armies. But Valdemar's forces were driven by more than just military orders. They fought with a burning desire for justice, fueled by the memory of the Roskilde betrayal. They decisively defeated Sweyn's army. During the chaos of the retreat, Sweyn III was captured and killed, and his claim to the throne died with him, ending his reign of treachery. For people at the time, Valdemar's victory was seen as something far more profound than just a military success. Foreign chroniclers wrote that the battle was viewed as nothing less than a trial by combat. In the medieval world, there was a strong belief that God would grant victory to the righteous in battle. By winning decisively on the field of Grathe Heath, Valdemar had not only defeated his enemy through superior strategy and force, he had, in the eyes of many, proven that God was truly on his side. Sweyn's monstrous treachery at Roskilde had been answered with what was perceived as divine justice, and Valdemar emerged as the victor chosen by heaven itself. With the deaths of both Canute V and Sweyn III, the long, brutal, and utterly devastating civil war that had plagued Denmark for decades was finally, truly over. Valdemar III stood as the sole, undisputed king of Denmark. This bloody struggle for the crown left lasting lessons about the nature of power in the medieval world, lessons that echo even today. First, it showed that in 12th century Denmark, merely having a claim to the throne, no matter how legitimate by birthright, was never enough. True power had to be won through military strength, shrewd political cunning, and sheer survival instinct. Valdemar proved this completely. Second, his victory marked the end of an era. It closed decades of destructive civil war and instability that had left the kingdom fractured and weak. The people of Denmark could finally breathe a sigh of relief. And, most importantly, this marked a new beginning. As King Valdemar the Great, he became one of Denmark's most powerful and transformative rulers. He didn't just end a war, he united the kingdom, strengthened its laws and defenses, and ushered in a new, stronger era for Denmark. His reign proved that sometimes a crown forged in the crucible of conflict, tempered by hardship and injustice, could ultimately shine the brightest. What an incredible journey through a truly pivotal moment in Danish history. If you found this story as captivating as I did, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next deep dive into history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. The visuals within this presentation are crafted to enrich your understanding, serving as artistic interpretations and contextual aids rather than direct factual representations. Their purpose is to illuminate the narrative and deepen your engagement with the historical backdrop. Join our growing community of history enthusiasts. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support keeps history alive.